Let's listen to this UK lawyer talk about the case, and I don't have any side, but let's just listen. He's talking about unsigned, whether Craig Wright knows what an unsigned integer is, and but does that really prove things? Because a person can write a white paper. If you read the Bitcoin white paper, it doesn't even mention the word unsigned. Now, somebody posted on GitHub a repository that says it's the early version of Bitcoin code, and it does reference unsigned a lot. But does Craig Wright really say he wrote every line of code? Wasn't Hal Finney involved? Wasn't other people? It seems like Craig Wright is not really a... and I've even heard him say that he doesn't know about... I believe I've heard him say RPC, and so other people know that better. So does that prove that he's not... What does Satoshi Nakamoto even mean then? Does it have to be that the entire thing was written by one person? Now, what if this person is dead? Obviously, he can't come up, or he or she can't come up from the dead. And if they're alive, if they or the group or whoever is alive, why not say something? Or see, the whole thing just doesn't make sense to me what the case is trying to prove, because a person can write a white paper and not know how to program. If you look at the original thing that's posted on GitHub that says it's version 00 of the Bitcoin code, it has all kinds of unsigned integer references. But the person that writes the white paper and the person that writes the program may not be the same person, and nobody memorizes programs forever and ever and ever. Now, if Craig Wright says, yes, I wrote every line of that from the beginning, I don't know if he said that, but if he did say that, then it is troubling that you don't know what an unsigned integer is. I mean, it depends. It seems like Craig Wright says he's an economist, he's a lawyer, he's this, he's maybe not a lawyer, but he's a programmer, he's got 10 degrees, he's got... but did he ever say he wrote every single line? Or doesn't... I've heard him, as I said before, I've heard him say that he doesn't understand RPC as well as others. And there was Hal Finney, which I saw some videos of him before he passed away, and he definitely seemed to be a professor, right? And a programmer. And I don't think it proves... First of all, does Satoshi Nakamoto have to be a person? Why would Craig Wright say he is? If he wrote the white paper, doesn't mean that he wrote everything. Why doesn't he just say who wrote what? You know, like, it seems logical to say that. You say, like, these guys did this, or this guy did this. And like, no one wants to come up and say. And now there's people like Peter Willie or something like that, which is really nice. He answers on Stack Overflow. If he wrote things, then where did that code come from? Did it just magically appear out of nowhere? Did he base it on anything? Why didn't people just credit people for what they did, just the way we really should? Anyway, listen to this.
Alexander Gunning was doing, he was representing the developers, and the developers clearly had their own view of their best shots were very different to the Copa's shots. So Copa was meticulous, knocking down each document as being inauthentic, or in a subsection of them forged, as they allege. The developers were more focused on, we don't believe Craig Wright can code. So that's why the questions were very pointed on, here's a particular function. That didn't exist until 2012. And here's an unsigned integer. Do you know what an unsigned integer is? And I'm not a C++ coder at all. I don't even have the basics, but I would have been able to come up with a better answer than Craig did. And that from his side, that's that would be really concerning.
Sounds like.
But wait, I on GitHub there's a repository that says it's the original Bitcoin code, and I searched for check block, and it's there all over the place. There's none. There's not one that's check block header that I see, but maybe I'm not searching for it right, because it could have space or underscore or things like that. But there is check block, and again, Craig Wright could have written the white paper and tried to get other people to do parts of it, right? And he was involved with this guy, David Kleiman or whatever, in Florida, right? And I don't know, did Wright ever live in Florida? I don't know. But the point is, I don't think this whole case hinges on whether someone knows what an unsigned integer is. Are you saying that Jack Dorsey programmed all of Twitter? I mean, will we ask Jack Dorsey, what's line 600 of the Twitter code? I don't think that. And would we say, oh, well, he's not the CEO of, or was the CEO of Twitter? It just doesn't make sense. Anyway, we have to thank both of these guys. I don't know who's telling the truth, but it's very interesting that unsigned integer is going to prove the person, like things like unsigned integer. That's cool. And anyone who wants to know, unsigned integer, it's very simple. Computers are made up of bits, which are on and off bits, right? Every transistor is either in the on state or the off state. This is before quantum mechanics comes in. And very simple. And unsigned, if you have a 8-bit byte, which just means 8 transistors next to each other, I'm just oversimplifying, right? You can either have all the bits represent an unsigned number, right? So if you have 8 bits, you obviously have 2 to the 8th possibilities, right? Because it could be 0 all the way to 255, right? Because 2 to the 8th is 255, and obviously they can all be off, that's 0. If they're all on, that's 255. But if you're going to need positive and negative, now you need a bit for that, right? So now it can only run on 7 bits, right? And 0 still has to be represented. So 0 is neither positive or negative, right? And now you can go from negative 127, I think he's right, to positive 127 all the way through 0. So 127 plus 127, is 255. Is that right? 127? No, 254. And then the 0 is the other one. So that's 255 possibilities, right? So that's all it is. And it's very simple. And I don't think that proves that Craig Wright is not Satoshi Nakamoto. It goes back to the question, what does it mean to be Satoshi Nakamoto? Just because you wrote a white paper doesn't mean you did everything in the world. And just because you wrote the white paper doesn't mean that you are the owner of Bitcoin, I don't think, right? Doesn't it require patents or something else? And I think that's why Craig keeps talking about patents or patents, as everyone is saying. I don't know. I thought the British said patent. So I don't know. Anyway, peace out. Thank you, Gavin and company.